I'm going to recreate a broadcast fly-in logo. It's going to look three-dimensional. It's going to look like a coin. It's going to be used for broadcast purposes. And so this is what we're going to do. We're going to make a copy of that graphic and put it in a tutorial folder so we can keep things separate here. And just take that image, which is a PNG file, high resolution PNG file, which is the best to use as far as I'm concerned. And then copy that into the tutorial folder and then open it up in Photoshop. Now what we're going to do in Photoshop with this is we're going to create the texture that's going to actually look like it's casting shadows and giving us some details surrounding the artwork, the various artwork, the color separations, and etc. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make this PNG file, we're going to go to image and turn it into a grayscale, and then we're going to take the brightness and contrast and we're going to crank up the contrast only. And then we're going to go to filters, 3D filters, and normal map. And then this will open a window which will show us the relief or the depth of the texture. Now this is adjustable. You can go from slight detail to extreme detail. Extreme is just too much. I like it right in between, right in the middle is going to be perfect for us. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to image contrast again. I'm going to crank up the contrast, just give it a little bit more depth. It's better to do it there. And then we're going to save it as a PNG, and then we're going to rename it a bump map. Not bumpo, but bump map. Okay. And then we're going to close out of that and exit the program. And then we're going into AfterEffects. There's our bump map, and there's our main image. Okay, After Effects, we're going to drag in our main graphic. That's what we're going to turn into 3D. We're going to drop it into a comp of its own size. Okay, looks good. Don't worry about the size because that's going to change later on anyway. What we're going to do is we're going to create a trace or a vector image. So we're going to go to Auto Trace, let it do its thing. And sometimes you just might want to come in here and clean up some of the nodes. Auto Trace isn't exact, but occasionally you'll find a couple of nodes laying around that shouldn't be there or don't need to be there. You just select it and delete it. Yeah, just make it nice and clean. There we go. Okay, going to turn those layers off, and then we're going to create a new solid. And this is going to be our 3D layer. It's going to be our 3D logo. And then we're going to take Element 3D, which you have to have installed, and we're going to click and drag that out onto the element. And then we're going to attach the custom layer, and that's going to be our auto-traced image. And that's got the mask information that we want. Then we're going to go into Setup. And we're going to extrude it. And we're going to take a look at this really big image here. We're going to want a little bit more depth here, so I'm going to change the bevel, increase that. So now we're getting nice and thick here. So now it's going to look like a coin for the most part. Then we're going to twirl down, go to the bevel layer, and we're going to choose our bump map that we just created. We're going to go and search for that. And there it is. Now don't worry about the way it lines up. It looks like it's all goofy right now. Don't worry about that. We're going to fix that here in a little bit. Now you can invert it. Depends on how you want your coin to look or your surface to look. You want it inverted? Do you want more depth on one thing or another? Then we're going to go into the occlusion layer and we're going to select our image. And again, don't worry about that. We're going to scroll up. We're going to use the UV layer and we're going to duplicate the image on the back. And there it is. Looking really nice. You may just want to come in here and tweak some things, mainly the lighting. The lighting will help determine how you want your relief to look. Looks really nice, just as the default setups. But you can go into the normal bump and you can change one way or the other. You can soften it or you can really increase it. Don't want to make it look too tacky or gaudy, so kind of find a real nice balance. And that looks really good. Yeah, I'm liking that a lot. Okay, not much more to do here. And then it's just a matter of taking it back into your main After Effects project and creating multiple layers of reveals. And what we're going to do is we're going to create 3-4 different comps, and we're going to drop our main 3D comp into each one. We're going to set in a camera, make sure the depth of field is turned off. But first what we're going to do is we're going to change the default settings for our 3D graphic layer. And we're going to go into the setup, the Element 3D setup. And we're going to change the lighting. We're going to change the rendering, which includes the lighting, and then the ambient occlusion. I always kind of like that. It just gives it a little more authenticity. Then we're going to create our new comp. This is going to be the broadcast reveal. And we're only going to do like one version. And we're going to drop our beveled logo, our 3D logo, into that comp. Resize it so it fits. Now, what I like to do is once the camera is turned on and we're in 3D space, new camera, 28 mil, make sure that your depth of field is turned off because that will affect the focus and it'll look fuzzy if you leave it on. So we're going to turn it off. And now we're going to go to the properties, transform properties of the camera. We're going to select them all. I'm going to put a keyframe right there because that's where I want my final logo to look. It's going to be right there. And then we're going to go to the head of that clip and we're just going to play with where we want it. Do we want to rotate it? Do we want to fly it in? Do we want to zoom in, zoom out? So this is going to be the starting point. You just got to figure out what do we want to focus on to make this look interesting, to come out to the full logo where we see it right now. Pick an area, zoom in, maybe shift it around a little bit, rotate it around a little bit, and then just kind of see how that looks, plays it back. What we're going to do then is we're going to duplicate that. So now we have the same graphic happening in each of these new comps. And all we're going to do is change the beginning and the ending position with the camera and where we want the image to be. So we want this particular clip to end right there, and we're going to go to the front, and we're going to just change the camera settings for this one. And when I say camera settings, I'm talking about orientation, XYZ orientation. And we're going to do the same thing to the other comps. Change it up, make it look a little bit different. The idea is to have people wonder, okay, this is interesting. This is okay, that's cool. Oh, what's this now? And eventually your logo is revealed at the very end. This is a little too steep right there. So just back off a little bit. Okay, we're going to kind of scan up the front of the face of this. Go to our third, and what we're going to do eventually is we're going to take these 4 different comps and we're going to blend them all together in one seamless comp. So we have like a take 1, a take 2, 3, and 4, and then that final 4th one is the final reveal. So you have this little buildup of what is this? Oh, there's another part of that, and here's another part of something else, and eventually it will tell the story, all in 30 seconds or less. So a nice pan across the front of that logo. Position it just right. I want it to scan left to right, showing World Series. So there we go. That looks nice. Okay, and then this is number 4, and that's our final reveal. So we're just going to create a final broadcast reveal logo, which will have all 4 comps in it. And then it's just a matter of timing. And if you're doing this at 60 frames a second, that's kind of a nice way to do it, because then you can speed it up or slow it down any way you like, and still retain quality. But what we're going to do is, if anything, I would probably time ramp this up. So you have a 10-second render. You may want to make that 8 seconds. The quality will be there. So it's just a matter of placing these clips onto the master reveal timeline. Any little black in the background, okay, this is going to be like an alpha channel project, so if you have something in the background, it may pop up if you have little certain areas that are showing up in your logo that are clear in the back. But, that might be okay. May work good. In this case, we're going to be flying back out onto the ball field, so there'll be a lot of green in the background where you see black. Okay, and then we're going to bring in number 4, lay it there, and there it is at the end. And you can just tweak it, make it your own, speed it up, slow it down. Composition settings. I want a little bit more length at the end, so the broadcast folk have enough to work with at the end to keep that logo flying over for an extended period of time. And there it is. Don't need that much. So we'll trim it down. We're going to render that out after we save it. It's a tutorial project. There we go. And we're going to take this in and make it a time animation. Not animation, we're going to change that to Apple ProRes 4444. That'll include our alpha channel, turn off the audio, and we're good to let it run. And that's where we're going to put it. And there it is. And here's the finished product. Now zoom through, zoom in, out. You see that background is it's all alpha channeled, so it's good to go.